The annexation process could start in a week. Any chance Israel will listen to all of these calls to put the plans on hold?
The truth is that no one knows. Perhaps only Benjamin Netanyahu knows. It's a week out. There are no plans. We don't know if it's going to go ahead. If it does go ahead, in what format? Will it be most of the West Bank and all of the Jordan Valley, as was indicated originally? Is it a different amount? I've seen interviews with military leaders and with settlers leaders, and they say they don't know if they're in or out. They don't know what they have to defend. So it's actually quite mysterious as to why Benjamin Netanyahu is doing this in this way. It was a campaign promise. But, you know, people do break campaign promises, and he hasn't presented the Israeli public with an overarching reason why it must be done and why it must be done now. So we have seen polls which indicate that the Israeli public isn't certain. There's not a majority of people who support it. They have COVID-19 problems. There's a news spike. There's economic problems. The people that I've interviewed say, we don't need this now. So perhaps the answer to all of this is that Benjamin Netanyahu is doing this because he can. There is a president in Washington who may allow him to. He may not have that luxury if the president changes next time round, and so he's going for it.
Irris, are these annexation plans in line then with Donald Trump's Middle East peace plan?
They are almost in line with Donald Trump's Middle East peace plan, which he unveiled in January in Washington. And what he said was this: certain areas in the West Bank, not entirely specified, will be in Israeli hands, and the rest will be a Palestinian state. There was no mention of unilateral annexation, but what the right wing in Israel and Benjamin Netanyahu have done is they've said, OK, we'll do this by ourselves. We won't do the second part, and we won't negotiate. We'll just decide, and we'll do it unilaterally. And that has met with international opposition, from starting with the Palestinians, going out to Jordan, the rest of the Arab world, European leaders, Russian leaders, Chinese leaders, the EU, you know, the UN today, and the Security Council is debating it. So there is massive opposition to that. And we have yet to see how all of that is going to affect Israel, if it will, or if what we're going to see in a week's time is simply going to be a symbolic announcement. And will that be enough for Benjamin Netanyahu? Because there's a lot of internal opposition as well, not just from the left wing, also from strategists and military analysts. So it's a very confusing time here, and it isn't what Washington envisaged. And there's a meeting right now in Washington. I think, you know, the decision about whether this goes ahead will not be made in Jerusalem. It'll be made in Washington, and what Washington decides is what will happen.
All right. Thank you very much indeed, Irris Mackler.